Okay, we're going to go over the formal probability rules. They talked about Census Canada, and for the first time they allowed people to file census info online, right? So they took some stats, and they told us that 66% of people file, is that how you spell file? I think so. File the census on time. Okay, so here's one category in itself, right? And we'll make a Venn diagram, hopefully help us out with that. 19% filed online. That's a category in itself. And then this would be considered like a subcategory. 16% filed online and on time. So let's try to figure this out. I can draw three different, essentially, diagrams of this. You have people. We could do the box. So from the information they gave us, these are everyone who filled out the census. Right? The census, and it turns out that 66 are on time. Right? 66%. Well, since the census is what? 100% of everybody, everyone who filled out the census, we can figure out who were not on time. So say not
30.
on time. Yeah, and how do we figure that out?
66 subtract 100.
Yeah, that's right. So we take our 100% and we subtract our 66, and that gives us the 33%. Well, actually, I think it's 34.
34.
34% were not on time. Okay, so that means 34% are not on time. Okay, so those are two categories in themselves, right there. I'm going to set this up with a chart after. We're going to just kind of use a diagram to help us make sense of this. And then there's people who filed online and not online, okay? And that can be a whole different diagram here. I'll set that up. Okay, so in this one, we'll use kind of different shapes. We had 19% were online, right? And then that means how many were not online? Well, this encompasses everyone who filled out the census. And everyone who filled it out would be 100% of everybody, the population, right? Which means to figure out how many were not online, we take the 100, we subtract the 19, and we get our, what would it be, 81%? 81% of people are not.
Can you count your time there?
You have to wait 1 minute. Not online. Okay? So these people are not online either. So that's two categories. Okay? And these are both separate from each other. And then this one here is where they start to tie in. Okay? They start asking about people who filed online and on time. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to set up a chart to kind of figure out this information. Okay, so what we're going to do is in one category I'm going to have total. Okay, and then I'm going to have another category, and what we're going to do is we're just going to subcategorize on time and online. Or sorry, not on time and on time. We're going to subcategorize those and then figure out the other options. So your options are on time and not on time. Right? So we're going to make a bit of a chart this way. So we have the total, on time, not on time. Okay, well, of everybody, 100% of the people filled out the census. Number of people who were on time when they did it were 66. And the number not on time were 34. Okay, that makes sense. Now, that will be we'll just say filed. That's what we'll call that there. This one we'll talk about online. How many people filed online? Well, they told us. 19% in total filed online. So there's 19% that filed online. And this last bit of information, 16% filed online and on time. So that fills out this category, online and on time. That's 16%, okay, of that total. And then the other option is not online. Well, we also figured that out. How many people were not online?
81.
81. But what we don't know is any other of this information. Okay? We don't know how many filed online but not on time. We don't know how many filed on time but by paper. and we don't know how many filed not on time and by paper. Okay? So when I say not online, that's what I'm talking about, paper. I'll put that kind of in paper. Does this make sense so far? Yeah, so that's that section there. Whoops, no, it's not. This title deals with all of that info there, okay? And then online is here. I'm going to try to break them up. Okay, there we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this information here because they've given us some totals. These totals are what's really going to be important. Now, one question we want to figure out is how many people filed not on time, but they filed online? Well, we know the total amount of people are 19 who filed online, and 16 were on time. Okay, so we figured out that one. Now the last one we got to figure out is our section here. And a good way we could have sectioned this off, and I'll do this with 2 red lines here, is we have our totals, and then technically this section here is also a set of totals. Okay, so we had our 2 subcategories, and I'll kind of draw them like this. This had to do with just filing the census on time, these ones straight across here, and these guys had to do with just totals in general of online and not online. Okay, so these were our subcategories, these 4 sections here. And we only had one piece of information for it. But because we had our totals, we could figure out the rest. For instance, the next one we got to figure out is people who filed by paper or not online, but were on time. Well, since 66% filed on time, and 16 of them filed online, we can subtract to figure out how many were by paper or not online. That's right. So that's 50% of people filed on time but by paper. And then we can do the same thing with not on time. We have 34% of people filed not on time. 3% of them were by online. So that gives us how many? 31% filed not on time and by paper. And just to double check, if we add these 2 values together, do they add to the 81% of people who were by paper? Yeah. Okay. So that's how we use that information to figure out our unknowns here.
Oh, this is like the marginal distribution.
Yes, exactly. Just like that stuff. Okay. That's one way we could set it up. It's tough to set that one up by Venn diagrams because the subcategories play into each other there. So sometimes a chart is the easiest way to set that up. So since that total is 19 and on time is 16, we can figure out the not on time people by subtracting these values, right? Because we know that these 2 must add up to whatever our total is going to be. Okay, so we can use that information. I'll kind of put that on the side here in red. So these 2 must add up to our total. So since this is 19 and this is 16 and they got to add, we just got to figure it out. So what value would add to give us our 19 here?
3.
Yeah. So that means 3% of people must have filed not on time